Let's take a look at unit conversions. It has many names: dimensional analysis, stoichiometry, factor label method. The key parts of unit conversions are that if you have a value and you want to express that value in a different unit, you can't change the value itself of the measurement. So when you do a conversion, you are always multiplying by 1 when you set up what are called your conversion identities. Most of the conversions we will do are based upon the metric system, which is grouped on powers of 10. So the key part of this is it is oftentimes easier to write a prefix with a particular value than write that value with a whole bunch of zeros either before or after it. So it's a shorthand method. When you are converting to a different unit, you are multiplying by a value of 1 when you're using the conversion identities, because we cannot change the value of that measurement. If we're starting out with 5 kilometers, if you measured it out, the physical length of the 5 kilometers cannot change. All we are doing is saying, if we made that measurement and we did it in terms of how many centimeters would be equal to that length, what is that number? So you're not changing the 5. In the rate conversion down here, you're not changing the 40. We're just expressing that rate in a different unit. When I teach how to convert, I learned what they call the picket fence method. It's essentially a long fraction where I start with my original unit here, and then everything after it are the conversion steps needed to get to my end unit. What you want to watch for is, if you are doing the conversions correctly, you have to make sure the units are canceling as you do the steps, and that the end unit is the unit that you're heading towards. You also have to be proficient with what the prefix signifies about the power of 10. Here's a little view of the prefix table. We typically look at these specific prefixes. There are many more on the table because they really go by powers of 10. So they'd be 10 to the 4th, 10 to the 5th, 10 to the 7th, 8th. These are the big ones. If the word is written out, like say a hard drive is 2 terabytes, it's going to be terabyte. But you often will see it shorthand 2 capital T small b. So this prefix is represented by this symbol. That symbol is equivalent to 10 to the 12th power, which is 1 with 12 zeros after it. So it's going to be important you understand what these symbols represent in terms of that value. They are the same thing. Down here are the English to metric conversions, which I call bridge units, which mean if you're going from English to metric or metric to English, you need to have a way of expressing a measurement in one unit, the English unit system, into a corresponding metric unit value. So they'll get tucked down here. I'd like to start with what is called a 1 unit conversion, which means we're looking at either a length, a mass, or a time. So I want to look at if we have 5 kilometers of length, and I want that to be equivalent to how many centimeters are represented by that 5 kilometers. I'm going to start and use the prefix table. So if I start with the 5 kilometers, the kilometer label goes with the 5. That technically means you're 5 kilometers over 1. I always want to make this look like a fraction because it makes doing the mixed unit and the rate conversions easier to understand. What I want to do now is I want to go from kilometers. Now ideally, I'd like to get over here and go to centimeters. I will always write my end unit over here so I know what I'm heading for. So if I know I can convert from kilometers, typically the way I teach this for people that struggle with using the metric system and using this conversion process is if you start with a unit that has a prefix on it, kilometers, centimeters, terabytes, nanoseconds, I suggest that you go from that prefix to the base. So from kilometers to meters, the base is right here, and then jump from there into the prefix. So I look at this as home base. If I go from a prefix, I'll go to the base, and then I'll go back out to the prefix. So that means I'm going to be going from kilometers to meters. So the identity that we know when we look at this is kilo stands for 10 to the third. So if I were going to write this, so you see this as an identity, I would say 1 kilometer equals, the prefix is here. Now we're going to express it as a value over here in power of 10. Is 10 to the third. We've just replaced the k. So that's an equivalent statement. Those two are the same thing. That's just got the power of 10 in it that takes the place of the prefix or the symbol. Now if that's equal to 1, that means I can also write it this way. And that means the same thing. Or I can flip it and it means the same thing. So when we are doing the conversion chain here, this is essentially taking this, which is an equality equal to 1, and just flipping it so we can make the conversion chain easier. Well, I know that the prefix, the way I do this, carries the 1. Now the kilo is 10 to the third. If you know it's 1,000, you can write it as 1,000. I'm going to follow the prefix system. Kilometers are going to cancel. Values in the numerator and denominator of a fraction will cancel if they're the same. Units follow the same process. I want to go from meters, so I got to cancel meters, and I want to see if I can go directly to centimeters. So that was my jump from here to here. Now watch how I'm going to do this. I was about to put something here, and I went, oh wait. I know that centi has a value that goes with it. Centi is 10 to the minus 2. So if the value is, if the letter is up here, you can't put the 10 to the minus 2 there because you're saying, I want to take this and change it to the power of 10. It is equal to there. So 1 centimeter is equivalent to 10 to the minus 2 meters. If you know there are 100 centimeters in a meter, that's fine. You're doing the same thing. You're looking at the inverse of this. But if I follow this to its completion, look what I notice. The only unit I have left that is uncanceled is centimeters. And that's what I want. So my conversion chain is done. All I need to do is run the numbers. So now I just run the numbers. And so I get 5. Now for me, I have to do 1 on the Casio. It's EXP, which is down there. That's times 10 to the power of, and then that would be 5,000 divided by 1, divided by 1, divided by 10 to the minus 2. 1 EXP minus 2. And what you want to be careful of is with exponential notation, depending on your calculator, the minus sign in the parentheses down at the bottom next to the EXP is used specifically for negative on the power of 10. You don't want to use this one, that's subtraction. Now the answer can be expressed as 500,000 centimeters. If you're asked to go back into scientific notation, psi naught, you could set it in your calculator, or you can just use the old bounce to the left number of zeros you have here. 5 times 10 to the 5th centimeters. So my final answer is expressed in scientific notation with the unit. So that is how you do a 1-unit conversion. Next time we'll look at a rate conversion, so 40 kilometers an hour. I hope this has helped you out. Thanks and bye-bye.